Hello, my name is Samuel Pagliarini. I'm a professor at Tallinn University of Technology, and today I'm going to talk about fingerprinting computer chips. All of us are familiar with fake products, in general counterfeit products. We know many examples from our daily lives. We know about fake shoes, we know about fake bags, watches, sunglasses, and so on. These products in general, they have a lower quality than the original products, and you can most of the time look at the fake product, look at the original product, and you can come up with a decision and say this is original and this is fake. What perhaps many of you don't know is that with computer chips we have exactly the same problem. We also have fake computer chips, and this is an example I'm showing here on this slide. In this particular example, it is possible to tell apart the fake chip from the original chip because they have slightly different markings that are shown here with these red circles. So the fake chip is characterized by having these two circles, one inside another, whereas this one has a single circle, so that's the original circle. In some cases, it works like this. You look at the authentic chip, the original chip, you compare with the fake, and you can come up with a conclusion and say which one is which. This is not always possible, however. Here's an example where we can look at the chip for as long as we want. We're not going to find any discerning patterns or markings to identify which one is which. For this type of thing, we would like to have some sort of fingerprint, some sort of digital signature that could tell us if the chip is original or not. Before I go into the explaining the signatures, I also want to explain to you how big this problem is. In the European Union, there's a body called the EU IPO that does statistics every year about fake products that have been seized. And this is what this chart is showing, the size of this problem, basically. We see here marked in blue that electrical and electronic products correspond to 35% of the seizures. And this is average over the value of the product, so it's not 35% of everything that was seized, it's 35% of the volume of sales of everything that was seized. And we can also look at this chart and we see some other very mundane fake products that we know of, like fake cigarettes, fake perfumes, and we see that they correspond to only 1%. So the problem here for fake electrical parts, electronic products, is really much bigger than for more traditional consumer items. What can we do? One of the ideas to stop this problem is to do chip fingerprints. I'm going to explain to you what a chip fingerprint is with a very simple analogy. And here's the analogy. This toy, we see it in playgrounds, a very common toy. This is called a seesaw. And the usual way that kids play in this toy is one on each side and they jump up and down. That's how this toy is supposed to be played. What you don't know about this picture in particular is that these two kids, they're not just playing. They're young scientists and they're going to do a little experiment using this toy. The experiment goes like this. Instead of jumping up and down on this toy, these young scientists, they're going to try to balance. So one kid on each side holding this piece of wood, flat, 0-degree tilt, holding it like that, and then they release. And what they observe is that the toy always falls to one side or to the other side, but this is consistent. So the kids keep repeating this experiment, and they see that the first seesaw in this playground always tilts to the left. The second seesaw always tilts to the right. And they keep doing this. And they keep repeating this over and over, and they get the same answer for the same toy. So this is very interesting experiment that they did. At this point, the kids were not satisfied. They were intrigued, but they were not satisfied. So they went out to different playgrounds and started doing the same experiment to see what happens. So they went to all sorts of different places. They went to a place here near the university, they went to downtown, they went to a museum, and they found these playgrounds over there. Each playground they found always had 3 seesaws. And they went and they did the exact same experiment on each one of them. And what you can see is that they found some notion of patterns. So they went to the first playground. The first toy they tried the experiment on always tilts to the left. The second one tilts to the right. The third one tilts to the right. They went to a second playground and they see that the pattern is right, left, right. Finally, they went to a third playground and the pattern is right, left, left. So what's happening here? What are the kids actually discovering? One way to interpret what they discovered is that they found unique patterns, unique identifiers for these playgrounds. And once you have some notion of a unique identifier, you don't need a map. You don't need an address to refer to that playground anymore. You have some notion of a unique signature of that park, and you cannot repeat it in another park. So this is essentially a signature. We can go one step further. We can turn this into a digital signature or a digital fingerprint. If we consider that the seesaw tilting left is a binary 1 and the seesaw tilting right is a 0, we can create a signature for the first playground that would be 100. For the second playground it would be 010, and for the third one 011. These signatures are still unique. They can be used to identify these separate playgrounds based on the patterns seen on those toys. Very well. So how do we take this knowledge, this idea of a digital fingerprint, and we bring it to computer chips? For that, the only thing I have to explain is a very, very basic circuit. It's called an inverter. There's nothing special about it. It's very, very simple. It works like this. At the input of the inverter, if you put a 0, you get a 1 on the output. If on the input of the inverter you put a 1, you get a 0 on the output. So the output is always the opposite of the input. It's a very, very basic circuit. There's nothing too special about it. With this basic component, we're going to build a structure that looks like this. So we have 2 inverters. They're kind of connect back to back. So the output of the first inverter becomes the input of the second one. The output of the second inverter becomes the input of the first one. So they're connected like this. And on the sides, we have these strange looking symbols. These are just access points that allow us to read and write the values of that circuit. Now, moving forward, this circuit is very interesting because it has only 2 stable states. It cannot have any other state. So either one side has a 0 and the other side has a 1 because of the properties of the inverter that they're always trying to flip whatever they get on the inputs. This is a valid state. The other valid state looks like this. You have a 1 on the left and you have a 0 on the right side. These are the only possible states this circuit can have. It cannot have 0, 0. It cannot have 1, 1. What we're going to do with the circuit is we're going to take that sort of algorithm that the kids created for the seesaws, and we're going to apply to this circuit. How does it look like? So first thing the kids did, they level both sides, right? They create this notion of a 0 tilt in the seesaw. We're going to do that by forcing zeros on both sides of this circuit. This is not a stable state, but we're going to force it anyway. After that, we're going to release, exactly as the kids did. What happens when we release is that these 2 inverters, they start fighting each other. And one of them must win because they are trying to decide which side is going to be 0, which side is going to be 1. So they fight each other until they reach some sort of agreement. Finally, after a little bit of time, we observe what state did the circuit reach. Either it went back to this 0, 1 state, 0 on the left, 1 on the right, or 1 on the left, 0 on the right, because these are the only possible stable states for this circuit. Why does it work? Why does the circuit will become one of these stable states? And how it will become one of these stable states? These inverters that I'm showing here, they are drawn identically, but when they are fabricated, they're not identical. They have tiny imperfections, and it's guaranteed that one of these inverters is going to be just a little bit stronger than the other. And that's how you're going to have this decision between which state you're going to settle based on which inverter wins this fight between them. Now, if I go back to the analogy that I had with the playgrounds and the seesaws, I can say that this state is a seesaw tilting left. I can call this a binary 1. I can say that this state is a seesaw tilting right. I can call this a binary 0. As long as I put enough of these structures on a chip, I can get a digital signature that can serve as a unique identifier of that chip. If I do that, I can identify which chips are real, are original, and which chips are fake, are counterfeits. Thank you.